Good morning, good afternoon, and happy Monday. Hope you guys had an awesome day today. Little Green Day recap for us today. It was a pretty good day out there today, but stuff was a little bit wild towards well, really the whole morning was a little bit wild. Now, we came into the open today, and of course, pre-market was a little bit slower today based on what I was looking at. Of course, there really wasn't a whole lot out there that I saw that I was in love with. And so coming into market open, my pre-market watch list was quite slim. Today I was only watching RADX, Mask, and Beat in the market open, and only one of those actually met my criteria, and it was MASK, which was the one that we actually did the best on today, which go figure. So look over at RADX, and of course this is one of those this morning in pre-market that was up substantially, and you're up on news this morning. You can see here up on a 9.5 million share float, had some pretty nice volume back here in pre-market this morning. And up here this morning on phase 2 trial news. And so we had some news here this morning, big price target upgrades, and this thing, of course, had a lot of volume into the bell. But I didn't really like this a whole lot because, again, I said it had to get over 17, and then we'd taken off of VWAP. Now, the problem here is you never got over 17. So you can see here, I wanted this to get up through this past high because what we have here is a lot of supply sitting overhead. So this sells off at market open, halts up at the bell, tries to reverse back through highs. I'm sure a lot of people got faked out here taking this breakout back over the opening high. You just can't do it because you're up in the pre-market supply. So in the case of this year, I had to first get the break of this, and then I'd take a little bit of a pullback over VWAP, but you just never got that move higher. So I didn't play this here. We had to clear overhead supply, which you just didn't do. Had you been able to do that, you would have had plenty of range here back to the highs towards the 20s, but it just never really had a chance to get going. So unfortunately, couldn't play this. Unfortunately, couldn't play that. Of course, we also had Beat here as well. Now, Beat also is from the watch list last night. If you tune in for my free watch list every day, this trying to get setting up today, at least, well, from our plan, we had two different plans here. We had the pre-market watch list plan, then we had the actual nightly watch list plan, which the nightly watch list plan was the break of this past time. So for the nightly watch list, I had to get breaking over this past time for a bit of a pivot. All right, put in place some nice higher lows, nice higher highs. And this would have looked good right here for an entry as well. But how I was actually watching this today was watching it here off of the break of this past high here. So what you actually had setting up here was sort of this, again, supply and demand flip. So we've been talking about the last few trades, or even this up here. And so I wanted to see a pivot over this high and, again, put in place a nice range, and then we could take a pullback. It never happened either. So not really set there to trade either today. Kind of a weird one. Never really got going. You can see how wicky this thing was off. The price action here was terrible too. So this thing was tough. Outside of that, in terms of your gappers this morning, which we'll look through Mask here and talk about how I was able to catch this today because it was fun. It really was. But a lot of these had either a float that was too large, massive spreads. It just wasn't an obvious. There wasn't many obvious setups out there. ASTI, of course, price action sucks. YCBD, these cannabis names, again, the price action generally sucks. This one here also quite sucked. And I didn't play this today either. I was watching it because we had the pre-market high sitting there at 172, but then you double topped off 172. All right, let's leave it alone from here. So didn't touch that today either. Not a huge fan of trading those names anyways. They don't really trade the best, but even KYTX today, massive float here. You're looking at about a 33.5 million share float. The daily time frame also was a bit extended, and so left this one alone as well. You didn't really have anything here. And then, of course, you had the big disaster today on IRBT, which I tried to play a little bit. I'm a couple bucks in the green on this. But I want to talk about this for a second because, again, a good chart will find a reason to run, just like a bad chart will typically find a reason to crash. And so with IRBT last night on the free watch list and over in the community as well, I said, look, let's avoid IRBT today because I was putting in place these, again, lower highs and lower lows on the daily chart. And so I said, well, I think this thing is done. It looks to be done. I think it's done. And so then, of course, bankruptcy news drops and this thing takes 80% today. People are now bag holding crazy all up through here. So with all these bag holders over current price, guess what that does? We've got so many people trying to get out for a lesser loss. And so every time this tries to move to the upside, they are again selling, driving price back off the highs. A lot of weight overhead is what I call it. It's very heavy overhead, very heavy. And so the big problem with this is you have people trying to play breakouts on this today. And I dabbled a little bit on some pullbacks, and I tried to see if we couldn't get that dead cat bounce today. And obviously you did get a bounce here from 70 cents all the way up about $1.60. Of course, after market open, tries to get breaking out here. You have this, again, lower high, higher low. So puts in place this nice wedge when the market open. Now it breaks out. And it tries to put in place a bit of a range here. And so I try to take some, again, you can see here what I'm playing off of these higher lows. And I'm trying to look for this leg up higher. It just never really is able to do it. And so I eventually just leave this alone. I have a small win here. I got a small loss here. I'm overall green a couple dollars. But the big thing here to notice is, again, how heavy this keeps on looking off the high. Every time it tries to curl, it's getting rejected big time. So that's when I just decided to leave it alone. You can even see here, third time was not a charm. Again, it rejects off the high. Third time at the same price. Again, confirming that triple top. So nothing there either. So again, you just have to be careful with these. And again, if you're bag holding this, do yourself a favor. If you don't have a plan, you don't have a trade, don't gamble. So this here, as again down this morning on the bankruptcy news, it's not something to be gambling on. It's something to maybe scalp some momentum on. I tried to do today. Didn't really get anything out of it, unfortunately, but came with a half size, sort of expected to have a lack of follow through, but still wanted to put my hands out there and try it. And so able to come out with a couple bucks. Outside of this, though, Mask, of course, was the most obvious of the day today. And so Mask came in the market open. This was the cleanest trading name that I saw in pre-market, so it was my most obvious stock going into the bell. It was on our pre-market watch list, too, as you saw. And that pre-market watch list, as you can see, said to watch it over VWAP for the range back to 62.7282. And so when we're looking for 62.7282 back to these pre-market highs. So we have 62, 72, and then 82 back through the daily highs. And so this opens up. And as we know from pre-market, we had these lower lows and we had these lower highs. Well, look at this here. We actually break out of this really tweezer style setup here after market open. It pulls back and we keep on getting bought up here off the 9 EMA. And so I sort of anticipate a higher risk trade here, and it works out, thankfully. I take it tight off this low, risking off the 50 moving average, and it worked out. And I kind of here was able to take it with a half size position. Again, I'm not taking full size on a more anticipatory higher risk entry like this. And so I broke the ice here. And I just kept on breaking the ice because there really wasn't a way to take full size on this based on the opportunity, the way this was moving. And so I have a half size win here from 52 to about 58 cents. So, okay, good. Then I came back and took another small win from 55 back to 57. Cool. Then I took a quarter size play, gave a little bit back right here on this move. I tried to look for it to tighten up and get a little higher for the squeeze back up through this past high. Took a quarter size there to see if we couldn't get that squeeze up higher. It didn't. And so I keep on just taking pullbacks off the 90 EMA until I eventually catch the big move. I take it here again, take it from 55 to about 55.50, or 54, I think it was 54. 54.50 to 55.50 is about a cent win. And finally, it reclaims again. I take the next pullback and look at here. It tightens up off the 90 EMA and we get that next leg. And so able to take it again with a half size here from 56.50 to the 65s. So about a 10-cent move. And then again, some more scalps through here off the 90 EMA. So everything here was really based around that 90 EMA. And you can see here, we had VWAP really just sitting here just sideways all morning, acting as that real basis of how this trade is going to be moving off of. And so every time we had the 90 EMA here above VWAP and we had price tied off of both, again, I'm just taking it there off the pullbacks, looking for the leg higher. Thankfully, it worked out for us. Now, as I got over here and we kept on rejecting off this high, it is a bit backside at this point. I left it alone. Of course, you can see here, didn't trade it anywhere else through here. And so that was that this morning. I gotta say, this thing was very fun to trade. These are the best. I mean, I wish it was a little bit cleaner so I could have actually taken full size, but this was the one this morning that at least it was able to, again, solidify a green day today. Without this, it would have been a rather slow day. So this was all fine. This was the obvious setup of market open. There really wasn't much else at the bell to be looking at. And so that's why moving on into setups like AMCI today, why I sort of hesitated a little bit. This is all we had today except for Mask. And it's one of those where I love playing a dip and rip trade. This looks pretty good down through here, and you can see on the daily chart, again, it looks good. Well, not really there. It looks good all through here in terms of risk to reward. But as you get up into this range over 8, you don't really have much range left here. And so my issue was I started the day today taking these half-size wins on Mask. And so I see this halt up, and it resumes, and it pulls back off the 90 EMA, and I was going to take it here. I was going to take it right here off this next pullback, risking off this past candle's low, but I didn't. And the reason why I didn't, and what I was going to do is take a quarter size here. So I was going to come out with extremely small size, but my problem was, look, I know I had relatively smaller cushion today because of the half-size trades on Mask, lower conviction setup. And so I didn't want to come take this higher risk trade today and give back my profits from Mask. And so I just hesitated. I said I wanted to get this a little bit lower so I could take a little bit more size, a little bit less risk. And I just never got the pullback, and it just goes without me. So that was frustrating. And so I'm watching it go. Thankfully, it starts to pull back up here off the highs. I'm able to take 2 little wins, not really anything substantial, but again, quarter-size trades because there was an added amount of risk here, being that this was extended, and of course, I didn't have much cushion either, except for Mask. So I played it here. Again, you can see it pulls back off the 9 EMA, and I'm like, oh, well, if it respected the 9 here, it's probably going to respect the 9 here as well, so I just keep on taking the pullbacks, and then it puts in place, you can see these bottoms here. Catch the first move from really 670 back to about 7. Second move, it pulls back off the same level again. And I'm able to take it here again from, you can see here, 650 back to about 7 again. So all fine there. And again, it sort of puts in place this really tight range here. And I just don't play it again because it just gets a little bit wonky and choppy. And I just can't really get good reads. So really today was okay. Today was a pretty good day. The only real issue is the lack of opportunity out of market open. Of course, Mask was good, but it was also a very crazy ticker. If you were watching price action on Mask today, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those extremely low float Chinas, some like they just trade a little bit funky. So I only took a half size on it. Was able to take a half size there, but only took quarter size wins at AMCI. So pretty good day today. Nice little green way to start the week. But I'm hoping that we have some better, higher conviction setups tomorrow to really get pulling away this week, just like we did last week with a pretty big week last week. So that pretty much sums up my morning and the whole morning recap here. If you did learn a thing or two from this video, make sure to subscribe for daily content just like this. Let me know in the comments below how you did today as well. Hopefully you did pretty well and stayed alive out there, stayed picky, selective, and just waiting for better opportunities. And of course, as always, make sure to go down to the description below, claim your 7-day free trial as the market continues to get hot into the end of the year. That way you'll get access to my alerts, the live trading streams, the education, the watch list, chat room access, scanners, journals, news, and so much more. And that being said, I will catch you back over there tomorrow morning for the live trading stream. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you then.